Hi guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the book called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. This book is the first book in the Harry Potter series, which two of the books I have already reviewed, which are Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This is the first book in the series which those two books are in. Previously, we have reviewed the fourth book and the seventh book. This is the first book, the book where the entire story starts. The Harry Potter story where the young boy, which we can see here, Harry Potter, first becomes a wizard, and when he first finds out that he is a wizard and can do magic. And that all really happens because a giant groundskeeper, I don't really know. It's a character in the book, and he kind of does this job where he looks over the grounds. He makes sure that there's no dragons in the Forbidden Forest, and he comes knocking on Harry's. Harry's uncle doesn't want Harry to find out that he's a wizard, so they go to this far, extremely far, like 1,000 times far away island with a tiny tower, and Hagrid, which is the character's name, who's the gamekeeper or groundskeeper, comes knocking on the door and literally bends a rifle. And it's like super cool because you see that magic for the first time in the book, and you see it happening, and you can see how Harry doesn't know a thing about magic, and he's really amazed and he's really captivated by how cool and amazing it really is what Hagrid just did, and how Hagrid literally just broke a rifle, did tons of magical stuff, and it is pretty cool too that he did that. And then we also find out about the guy who killed Harry's parents, how Harry's parents really died, how they didn't die in a car crash, but they were actually brutally murdered by a dark wizard, which was also one of the most powerful wizards of all time, Voldemort. And later in the books, Harry goes to Hogwarts, and later in the books he has to actually fight the guy who killed his parents, but it's kind of like he's not fighting him, because it's like, so you have one side of the head, and on that side of the head is this teacher called Quirrell, and on the other side of his head, it's Voldemort's head, but it's Voldemort's face, which is the dark wizard's name. And it's really weird and twisted and confusing, but it actually does kind of make sense at the end of the book. Like, it's mostly at the end of these Harry Potter books we get a big explanation about what's been happening in the books, why it's been happening, and this huge explanation about like Harry and Voldemort's story, what they have to do, what Harry has to do, all of that kind of stuff. And it's really at the end of the books where we get this big explanation, because Albus Dumbledore, who is like who is the headmaster of Hogwarts, the school the magic school that Harry goes to. Albus Dumbledore is like the super smart wizard, and Albus Dumbledore for short, normally gives these big long explanations about why Harry had to about why this happened, about why this happened, and this and that and this, which is all explained later on in the book where Dumbledore gives his explanation. That's when it's explained. And as you can see here, this is Hagrid, and Hagrid the gamekeeper, and there's 7 years in Hogwarts, and the first year which is where Harry is in this book. Hagrid helps the first years go to the castle there. See, you can see the castle there in the distance, and so this is Harry, this is Hogwarts, and this is Hagrid. And these two kids actually Harry's friends, or the people he meets later on in the books, who becomes friends with her, because his cousin kind of made life a bit difficult for him before he went to Hogwarts and found out he could do magic. And by difficult, I mean bullying a lot. So this girl is Hermione Granger, and she's the smartest one out of the three main characters, you could say, because there's three main characters. Harry's technically they're not really two of them are technically not really the main characters, but it's like they're mostly there, like in almost every chapter they're there. And these two are Ron Weasley the first friend Harry ever makes, and Hermione Granger, the smartest one out of these three. Like, she's very smart. She's the one that actually does a lot of the spells, and she's the one that actually gets Harry out of a lot of trouble in the books. And then if we go to the other side, we see the part of the book that if you go to the back of the book, we see like talking about like what the book's about, and here it actually gives us a little bit of what is actually in the book. So it's a little paragraph from inside of the book when Harry first gets his letter from Hogwarts to go to Hogwarts. So this is a tiny paragraph from there, and the paragraph says, turning the envelope over, his hand trembling, Harry saw a purple wax seal bearing a coat of arms, a lion, an eagle, a badger, and a snake, surrounding a large letter H. And the H is for Hogwarts, School of Wizardry and Witchcraft. That's what the H is for. And then the lion, eagle, badger, and snake, they're all a part of the houses. So the houses are basically where, if you go to Hogwarts is basically a boarding school. So you can't put every single child in one place. There are going to be a lot of fights if you do that. So there are 4 houses. Ravenclaws, which is the sigil for the eagle. So Ravenclaw's sign or sigil is an eagle, and the Ravenclaw house is where the absolute smartest children go. Gryffindor, which is Harry's house, is all about being brave, and where you put bravery and brawn over smartness or other stuff. And then there's Hufflepuff, which is where they basically just take all the other kids. The kids who are basically like, they're not that brave and they're not that smart. Or they're not inside, and that's where where you would go if you're not that smart or you're not that brave, but you are a wizard, so you'd go to Hufflepuff. And then we have Slytherin, which is actually my house. Because you can, and Slytherins are actually the most cunning one, and Death Eaters, who are a bunch of Voldemort's followers. It's actually said that all Death Eaters, or most of them, are literally from Slytherin. So people say that Slytherin is the bad house, and then this is one of the owls that delivers Harry's letter, because his uncle doesn't want him to see the letter, so he can't go to wizard school and become a cool wizard. So he kind of takes all the letters and rips them up and puts them in fires, stuff like that. Tries to basically destroy them. But these owls just keep on coming, giving the letters after letters after letters. And you can actually see a tiny letter there with the purple wax seal, which is talked about here. And we can actually see it. It's kind of tiny. I don't know if you can see it because it's kind of tiny and it's in the owl's beak, but it's actually really tiny, actually, yeah. So that's the letter, and then when Harry goes there, it's like really cool, and they learn a lot of magic, and Harry actually soon finds out about how his dad and mom actually went to Hogwarts too, and they went to Gryffindor too, which is pretty cool. And he also finds out about the most loved and enjoyed wizard sport. I think it's the only wizard sport, really, but hey, who knows? So it's played with 3 balls, I think. Yeah, 3 balls. The quaffle, the snitch, and then there's another ball, which is basically where it's like this really complicated game, but it's called Quidditch. And so there's one person, and it's all in broom, so they're all flying in the air, which is kind of a safety hazard in case someone falls off their broom and plummets to their near death. But they do have sand on the bottom of like the playing field and stuff, so that if any of the kids do fall off their brooms and maybe almost die, the sand will protect them. So that's fun, and they won't die, hopefully. So the sound protects them, and there's the keeper, and there's these giant goalposts, 3 goalposts in the air, giant ones. Probably the size of me. Yeah, probably the size of me, yeah. And one there, one in the middle, and then there's the keeper, and the keeper has to make sure that the quaffle doesn't go in any of the holes. And if one quaffle goes in, that's 10 points. And then if the seeker, who has to find this tiny golden ball that flies around like pew, 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 pew. It flies around super fast, and it's like only the fastest, most quickest players on their brooms can get it, and you need to be really good at seeing too, because if you can't find it, then you're not gonna win the match. Because once a team's seeker grabs the snitch, the match ends. And the snitch also gives around 100 points to the team that gets the snitch, and so it really means that you have to make sure, like if you're in a giant tournament and you have to win by at least 200 points, first you have to make sure that your team actually gets the amount of points you need before getting the snitch. And you really do need to get the snitch, because the snitch is a big playoff. If you get the snitch, you will. If the other team isn't really good, then you will probably win if you get the snitch. So that's the Quidditch game. And Harry actually finds out that he's a really good seeker. So even though he's a first year, and first years are not allowed to play Quidditch and be on the team, he's actually allowed to play on the team because he's so good. And he actually wins his first match, and he wins like almost every match. But then there's like the last match, and so because he was trying to save the entire school from Voldemort trying to take over, he missed it, and his house kind of lost, because they do inter-house tournaments in Quidditch to keep the students lively in Hogwarts. And so it's Gryffindor versus Slytherin, and Ravenclaw versus Hufflepuff, or Ravenclaw versus Gryffindor, stuff like that. And their last match was actually against Slytherin, and they lost it because Harry wasn't there, and he was the seeker, so he's kind of very important if they want to win. And so they lost the match, and then there was also the House Cup, and if you can get points, or you can get points docked, and the house with the most amount of points at the end of the whole school year get this gigantic cup for the next year, and bragging rights, which I think are the best bits because if you're like in Gryffindor, and Slytherin are mortal enemies for nobody knows why. They just don't like each other. And you could go up if you were Gryffindor and you won the House Cup, you could go up to Slytherin and be like, "Hey, I won the House Cup!" Yeah. So that's the bragging rights. And so yeah, that's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. A lot about Quidditch, a lot about Hogwarts, and it's very much about magic. I would recommend this book to all ages, really. The Harry Potter series for all ages, and I would also recommend it to people who like a bit of fantasy and maybe adventure at the same time. And that's all for today. Please hit the like button if you like the video, and please subscribe if you want to see more of the Harry Potter series. Bye!